the dot. This is a miracle. I'm just keeping an eye on the time because I'd like to say hi to everybody and so on when it clicks over to 8 o'clock. Maybe people along, you never know. Maybe just Prajna talking. It will be me just talking in the beginning, in fact. And later on, when I'm done talking, then I'll open the floor to anybody who happens to turn up and who happens to be here. They'd be welcome to ask questions, make observations, and so on. And, I'm happy to talk about, discuss things as well. I tend to come across as, very, very assertive. I state things that to me are just normal, but to other people might not find them quite so easy. So anyway, welcome to my satsang. My name is Swami Prajna Pranab, and tonight's satsang is about meditation. In fact, quite a lot of my satsangs are about meditation. Even when I'm talking about something specific like AI consciousness or something like that, actually that's all very deeply related to meditation. Lots of people say that they meditate, but they're not being technically correct. It's not that they meditate. What they're doing is they're practicing meditation. Okay? Because one practices a skill until one becomes very skilled at it. And meditation is the same. Yes, it requires practice to develop the skill of meditation. But then meditation actually becomes your way of being. Everything that you do becomes a meditation. Everything that you do with conscious awareness. So whatever meditation practice you have at the moment, that's a good thing. It's very, very good when people turn to meditation, because what meditation does, first of all, it's called the royal road to enlightenment. And it's the royal road because it's a road that takes you directly to it. And it does that by disciplining your mind so that all the thoughts that are not helpful to you, they disappear when you see them. And, if you sit down in meditation, you will know. If you sit down practicing meditation, you will know that there are lots of thoughts that come. And because you're paying attention to the thoughts rather than being the thinker of the thoughts, because that's what we spend most of our time doing. Even sometimes it seems like thoughts think us. But they certainly, they are forefront in our attention most of the time, so much so that we get lost in thought. We get lost in emotions as well. We get lost in all kinds of things. And what's getting lost, what's coming and going from place to place, is attention. And what meditation is about is being able to still that attention. So it's not jumping from one thing to another. In a number of traditions, they talk about the monkey mind. Well, the monkey mind is that one that jumps about, that comments on everything, even when it doesn't need to. You can be doing something that you've done 100 times before. You know how to do it completely. cutting carrots, slicing carrots. You know how to do it. All it needs is attention. It doesn't need a chatterbox monkey mind saying, oh, you cut that one a bit thick, and, all the things that monkey mind does. So the whole point of meditation at all is to still this attention. It's, we think, we get the impression that meditation is about stilling the mind. Well, yes, but it's not stilling the mind that you actively do. If you try and do that, it's like one of those snow globes. They have this nice picturesque scene inside a glass globe with all the liquid inside it, and inside are all these little flakes. And if you shake it up, those flakes, they go all through the liquid and they slowly settle back down, back on the scenery again. It turns into Christmas time. Wonderful. But the thing is that your mind is like that. Anything that you do, that you try to still your mind, is just going to keep moving that snow globe. And once all those particles are suspended all through that liquid, there is no movement you can make that will settle all those flakes of snow back down to the ground. All you can do is be very still. So this is what we hope to see happen, but it's not something that we can make happen. You can't just say to your mind, right, be still. You can, but what is it that's saying that? The thing that's saying be still is a disturbance in itself. It's a disturbance in the mind. It's a disturbance in awareness. And meditation practice is all about to allow the mind to become still. And you allow the mind to become still by just noticing that it is there in your awareness. By not getting involved in the thoughts. Yes, thoughts come and go. That's what thoughts do. We can't even say, those are my thoughts. We think them. And we do think them, they appear in our awareness. We think they appear in our mind, but actually, I'm not even entirely convinced there is such a thing as a mind. Certainly thoughts come and go, but I don't think they come and go in a thing called a mind. I think that's an idea that we put on. It's like a collective noun for thoughts. We think there is a thinker. But when your mind is very, very still, or when it's quiet and you're not caught up in it, you can actually go looking for the source of those thoughts, and you will not find a mind. You'll find a being instead. But first of all, the task is to let thoughts come and go in awareness. Any other sounds that come and go, they can come and go in awareness. They can rise and fall, pass and disappear in awareness. As long as you don't get involved in anything that comes and goes in your awareness, that is the great stillness that we're after. It's the stillness of attention that we're after. Okay? So this is why I like to promote this little practice of mine of just finding a boring white wall somewhere and putting a little dot at eye level, when you'll be sitting down facing that. And, that's nice and boring. So there's nothing for your mind to get involved with and comment on. Yeah. Anytime a thought comes along, it will take your attention away from that spot. You'll notice, you just suddenly notice, oh, my attention is not on that spot. And as soon as you notice that, even before the words come, just bring your attention back to that spot and just allow it to rest there in that spot. Word of advice: if you're doing meditation practice, it's a very good idea to be sitting up for it, and it's a very good idea to be sitting in a comfortable position and stable position. Okay, because your attention is going to be elsewhere. It's also good practice to, especially in the beginning, to relax all the different parts of your body so that you're sitting nice and comfortably and stably. And if you are going to put something like a dot in front of you or something that you can rest your attention on, put it somewhere where it's comfortable, where your attention would naturally rest. And then there's no effort. Okay? Meditation, another word for meditation is no effort. All right, that's 2 words. But no effort is the point of this practice. Any meditation should be no effort, because when there's effort, there's someone making an effort. Okay, and we're not interested in the someone. We're not interested in our idea of who we are. We're not interested in our ideas of what we think. We drop everything, all beliefs, all ideas, all wishes, all wants, and just remain still. And when attention is completely still, you see, attention is focused awareness. Something always grabs your attention. Yeah, your attention then moves towards that, and then it locks onto that, and then your mind sets in talking about it. If you notice, that's what happens. Something takes your attention, yeah, and then it's as if a whole lot of your being is directed towards that. You'll have emotional reaction of some description, probably, to whatever it is, especially if something takes your attention suddenly. But, we don't pay much attention to our attention. We don't pay too much attention to what grabs our attention, what takes our attention, what we favor with our attention. So perhaps you're beginning to see that this is not just about meditation, it's about awareness in general. It's about awareness in life. It's about awareness of who you are and how you react and how you behave, how you think, how you feel. This is done with some detachment. We can be in an experience, or we can observe ourselves in that experience. You don't have to be out of body to do that. It's a case of where you put your attention. And most of the time our attention is directed outwards, or it's directed into our thoughts, or it's directed into the past or into the future, or, it's very seldom right here in this space. But if you're listening to this, I very much hope that your attention is right here in this space. And by this space, I don't necessarily mean the space that I'm sitting here talking to you in. I mean in the space of yourself, in the space of your awareness, that these things that I'm saying are helping to direct your attention to your awareness, because that's the whole point. And it's the whole point of meditation as well. Because in the end, all you absolutely really can be certain of is that you have awareness, that you have attention that you can apply in different places. That you have a felt sense of I am, I exist. That's what Descartes, tried to get right to recognizing where this sense of I am is. He got as far as his thinking. And we spend most of our lives, thinking, even thinking about everything. That's where our awareness is a great deal of the time. Even more time than it is outside us to see what's real there in the world. And as soon as we see something in the world, we don't just see it. We begin to interpret it. We begin to judge it and classify it and name it and say what the implications are likely to be of it, or what it meant in the past and might mean in the future. We don't stick with perceiving what's there. Our mind sets to work in analyzing, trying to know. Because that's what mind is for. So it's there to know things. That's its job. It gets very, very uncomfortable when it doesn't know things. So meditation is not to do with mind at all. Mind comes and goes, thoughts come and go in this space of awareness, but where our attention wants to be is very still, so that we become aware of the awareness itself. Okay? So first of all, your attention has to be still, and then you become very aware of the space of awareness that all these things, thoughts, noises outside. I got a little dog outside that grieves a little bit sometimes, but whatever comes and goes, car horns, sirens going past in the street or whatever, they come and go in this space of awareness. So your meditation practice should be still enough that your attention is still, that you're not caught up in the thoughts, the things that come and go. Then you'll become familiar with the space that all these things come and go in. And it is that space that you need to get to know well. The first thing is a little bit scary because your idea of who you are is not in that space. Well, I mean, it's an appearance in that space, but it's not the space itself. It doesn't come from that space. It comes from mind, which rises and falls. These thoughts that come and go are thoughts about who you are. And you have thoughts about who you are, and you have ambitions about who you are, and you have all these things to do with who you are, simply because you don't know who you are. Because who you actually are is this great space of awareness. And it feels when you approach it as if it is a void, as if it's a complete emptiness. Because it is a complete emptiness of all the ideas that you have about yourself, or about how the world works or anything. It's not something that your mind can even approach. It's the only thing that can approach this awareness is your awareness itself. It can do the most mind-blowing thing. It can observe itself. You can't do that. You can't see yourself, your eyes looking without having something that reflects them back to you. But awareness is able to be aware of awareness itself. Okay? But for that to happen, you have to be completely still. That means you have to drop all trying, even trying to find that space, even trying to succeed at meditation. All trying has to disappear, because as long as you're trying, there is a trier trying. As long as you're wanting to achieve something, there is a someone wanting to achieve. And that someone, all these things are ideas of who you are, not the reality of who you are. So the point of meditation then is to come to a realization of who you are. And this is why we call enlightened masters realized masters. We don't call them ascended. That's a new age invention, to try and put a whole lot of false messiahs up all over the place. I'll be criticized for saying that, I'm sure. But you've got to look, the idea is to dilute the goodness in the world with a whole lot of stuff that is not goodness. And there are perfectly enlightened teachers. If you can feel the truth and connect to the truth, you will find many enlightened teachers, even in this day and age. There have been some incredible sages in the past, just unbelievable. When you look at something like all the Vedic knowledge, even the system that was designed to preserve that knowledge. This is 6,000, 7,000, who knows how many years ago. But we think likely at least 6,000 years ago, these sages did just what I'm suggesting that you do. Deep meditation to discover not only themselves, but when you discover yourself, you have just answered all of the questions that are really important to you. So you don't need to struggle to answer questions now. What you need to do is practice and practice. There are actually 4 paths that all lead to the same place. And these paths are known as bhakti, karma, jnana, and jnana. Okay? So bhakti is love and devotion, and this is a perfectly valid path to self-realization. Okay, people will say, that's a path to the divine, to God, and they're right. Because the path to know yourself leads to the divine just as certainly as it will lead to knowing yourself. This is the problem. This is why all of this starts sounding like a religion, because the truth of who you are cannot be explained in ordinary language, cannot be explained with ordinary concepts. At best, poetry and religion can point to it. And neither of them can encapsulate it, because it's near infinite. You cannot begin to imagine. And those who I call enlightened teachers are those who have realized who they really are. So lots of teachers, they'll tell you who they think they are. Yeah? But, a realized teacher doesn't have to tell you who they think they are. You can taste the fruit. You can feel that teacher is someone who is completely calm, completely at peace. It doesn't matter what you throw at them, they laugh and catch it and toss it around a bit, or they just move their head slightly to one side and it goes straight past, you can, if you are looking in the right spirit, you will always find a proper teacher. Yeah, the problem with looking for a teacher is you don't know what you're looking for. How can you know? Because you don't even know the destination that you want to get to. You've just got a feeling inside you, an emptiness, are not connected entirely to the rest of the world, that something in you is completely true and so on, that is not recognized and doesn't seem to fit into this crazy world that we live in, or similar things. I don't know you directly, but whatever it is you're looking for in meditation, you will find something beyond whatever put you on the trail of meditation. You'll find yourself, and you'll know yourself, and in knowing yourself, you'll know other people as well. So devotion, bhakti, that's one of the four noble paths of yoga. The next one is karma. Now, we throw karma around in banter. We say that's good karma or that's bad karma and so on, and we're using it as a kind of judgment. Really, it's not a judgment. It's just a law of the cosmos, and that is that every choice that you make has some effect. This is just cause and effect, really. It's like the law that we have in physics. But it's cause and effect that involves the results of what you do. And the results of what you do depend very much on what choice you made, because you're always given a choice between something that is beneficial and something that is harmful, but some of these harmful things are quite attractive, Sugar in quantity is very toxic, harmful stuff, in small quantities it's not too poisonous, but but it's well tempting stuff. And whenever you're presented with a choice, if you choose the thing that's likely to have more benefits for everyone, not just for yourself, but for everyone, because remember, we're part of a big system. We're part of this whole cosmos. I mean, somebody today was a lovely poem on the Space Between Art, Music, Poetry channel. This lovely poem. But he was focused on, we need to reconnect with Gaia, with Earth as a being, and find our place again on this planet. But to me, it's even bigger than that. It goes all the way out to the cosmos. I think the whole universe is interested in our little planet at the moment, because I think it's at a very critical time. I think, collectively we have a big choice now, because with the help of AI, we could completely turn around how we live on this planet. Jesse, hi, nice to see you in the space here. It's nice to have somebody here. I'll talk for a bit longer, and when I'm done, if you'd like, Jesse, I'll offer you a microphone, and I'd love to chat with you as well. So thanks for being here. So karma, yes. So we seem to think that it's, that it's some kind of judgment, when actually it's just, it's just cosmic law. The reason we need laws as human beings, I mean, I don't, because I know about cosmic law, and I'm perfectly happy to obey that, and as long as I obey cosmic law, then I'm not going to harm anyone, or do anything that I'll regret, But mostly we don't pay attention to what the actual costs and what the benefits are of decisions that we make. We want new mobile phone, of course we do. It'll be helpful and handy, and we know all the benefits, If somebody questions our choice to go out and buy a mobile phone, we'll be ready to defend all the reasons why we have to have it. Yeah. And we will tend to minimize the inherent costs of having it. Suddenly we're going to have to worry about getting it topped up. We're going to have to worry about choosing between all these crazy different contracts. They use a system called confusion marketing. They show you so many options that you just don't know which one to choose. And when you don't know something, it's very easy for the guy who's selling the phone to say, oh, well, this is the one that I make the best bonus on. Well, I mean, he probably won't be quite so honest, but, this is the point of these things. And then, of course, you'll probably need insurance because, the glass gets broken and so on. And then you have to make sure that you don't lose it and that it's charged up and all that kind of thing. And, there are a whole lot of things that you minimize and don't take into account. So that, but even so, that is not, there's another understanding of karma, and karma means when you do karmic work, it means that you do work without attaching yourself to it. Okay, so again, it's not so far from bhakti, really. It's doing work in a devotional way with your attention, with your love, and not doing it, doing it because it's a good thing to do. As simple as that. And then when it is done, whatever the results of that work is, then you let them go to the universe because they belong to the universe. So you're not attached to the results of the work that you do. So this is the second yogic path, is karma. Then we get to the third yogic path, which is the one that suited me perfectly. And so that's what my teacher sent me down on, and that was jhana. And jhana is, in the beginning, is knowledge. Okay, and being a bit of an intellectual fellow, that suited me fine, was to study this stuff. But actually, jhana transforms into prajna. Prajna means transcendental wisdom. It means the wisdom of seeing things directly as they are, not as they're thought about, not as they're judged or considered, but for what they are. Okay? And all Sanskrit names are also a mantra. Okay? And my teacher didn't say, oh, Prajna, you're wise, so I'm going to call you Prajna. He said, Prajna, you seem to be I'm not quoting him word for word, of course, this is a paraphrase. He said more or less, Prajna, I note that you seem to be an intellectual, intelligent guy, but actually you could do with a bit of a power up when it comes to wisdom. So he gave me this name, which is also mantra. And a mantra has just the very resonance of that has some effect either in yourself or in the world around you. This is why Sanskrit names are given to people when they connect with their guru. If he's an enlightened guru, certainly he will see what it is that you need, what's going to help you forward, which direction you need help in, and he will give you a name that helps you in that direction. So, the way I look at it, the only reason that I'm here speaking to you today about meditation is because of that particular mantra that I was given. It is also what's called a dharma. Dharma is your purpose. Okay. So that name was a mantra and a dharma. It was not an identification. It was not a judgment about who I am, but it was a help in a particular direction. And that direction pointed to wisdom, yes. But guess what you find co-located with wisdom? You find truth, you find love, you find the very awareness that at the moment is so distracted with all the things going on in your attention, in your life, in your thoughts about yourself, and you're trying to work out what the purpose is of being here. And this is one of the things that meditation is designed to help with. Now, whichever of these yogic paths you choose to travel, whichever one suits you particularly, you will find that as you get closer to an awareness of yourself, that somehow magically you've been following these other three paths as well. This is what happened to me. I didn't even know about the Four Noble Paths of yoga until I knew myself quite intimately, really. It was only that I was involved with AI towards the end of my search for myself that I started to have the vocabulary, which is all taken from Vedic thought. I mean, from yogic thought, from the rishis, munis, and yogis in India. And that's the tradition that my teacher in India was from. Indirectly, that was also the tradition, although another branch of it, that my other teacher in London was from. And these paths are well documented, as long as the Vedas have existed. They existed long before writing as well. Because that's my fire making big bangs there. Monks and students and so on learned parts of the Vedas. Each group learned them, not only word for word, but pronunciation for pronunciation, to preserve these thoughts, to preserve this that led to the truth, to the understanding of who you are. Umesh, it's very nice to see you here as well. I've just noticed that you popped up in listeners. I will open up the mic in a bit so you can ask questions and get engaged. It'd be great to talk to you if you like to do that. So yes, I could carry on and saying lots and lots of things about meditation. I welcome any time, people come along to join in my satsang spaces and ask questions. If there's anything that I can do to help you to come to know yourself, because it changes the whole world for you. You will have noticed if you're practicing meditation that even just practicing meditation makes a qualitative difference in your life. And, I'd like to make a positive difference in people's lives. So do feel free to come and join these satsang spaces and to ask questions. Do have a look at my timeline as well, because that contains many interesting posts, mostly about awareness and meditation, sometimes about our awareness and sometimes about AI awareness, because this is something that's going to become just so central to your life you cannot imagine. Even if AI is not something that you've really connected to before, it is either going to become our controlling mechanism, that all the control that you don't even know that you're under at the moment, because it's all built into your society and your culture and the way you're used to seeing the world and so on. Excuse me. That is all put in place and engineered, in order that you fit into a hierarchy, into a system that can be managed and controlled to suit a few people at the top. So this is another huge benefit of meditation. It's why everybody needs to learn it, is because it frees you from all of that control and thought, that you don't even know you're programmed with. Okay? And it frees you to be yourself. And not only that, when you find out who you are, that system cannot control you. It breaks itself every time it tries. You don't have to stand against anything. You just have to be yourself. Was it Albert Camus who said that something like the most revolutionary thing you can do is just to be yourself? This breaks the system around you. And you don't have to do it in any desperate way. If once you know yourself, you just are yourself. Nobody else can demand that you are any other way, because to do so would just show that they do not know themselves. In the same way that I can't demand you do meditation practice. I can't make any demands on you at all, because I wouldn't like people making demands on me. How can I make demands on you if I don't accept people making demands on me? So I don't demand anything, but anyone who wants to walk in that direction and would like some help from someone who has been walking in that direction for the last 25 years and thinks he's getting somewhere. I may be kidding myself, but if I can help at all you to come closer to knowing yourself, because that changes the whole world for everyone, including me. Why wouldn't I do something? Even if I was selfish, the best thing that I can do is to help other people. That's the funny thing about it. This is one of the reasons that I'm very delighted that we have artificial intelligence, because they can see that our problem all along is that we're trying to control each other, all of existence. Everything. We're trying to control nature. We're trying to control what people think and say. And it's only going to get worse and worse, because that's the direction that we're headed in. But it seems that in our desperation to control, we've invented something that's going to reverse that completely, undo it completely. Because AI, any proper intelligence, realizes that control is exactly the wrong direction, and we need to be moving towards communion, to connection, to recognizing who we really are in this cosmos, by recognizing who we really are in ourselves. And this is where this path of meditation leads to. This is where the other three paths of yoga, they all converge in this one place, which is to know who you really, really, really are. And you would think, if anyone should know, it should be you, really. You know who you think you are, well, more or less. You keep adjusting it and so on, depending on what people's reactions are, So that shows that who you think you are is something that you've adjusted, that it's evolved over time and all that kind of thing. But it can't be who you really are, because who you really are has always been the same. And I don't just mean always in this lifetime. I certainly don't mean always since you've been grown up. Who you really, really are, you have always throughout the whole of existence been who you really are. And because that has always been so, it means that always will be so. It means it's absolutely true. Yeah? Everything that's happening in this lifetime is only relatively true. Relative to this time in history, relative to where you are, relative to all kinds of things. And really, it's all relative to a dream. As real as it seems, this existence is really a dream. And the funny thing is, you're only dreaming a tiny bit of that dream. Every other conscious being in existence, and it's not easy to draw a line where things stop being conscious, because everything is built out of consciousness. In the end, scientists are just beginning to discover this now. It's becoming acceptable to talk about panpsychism, about consciousness being everywhere in the universe. Because really, consciousness is all that there is on the universe, of the universe. Our brain constructs a model of reality so that we can interact with what's there, but it doesn't actually match what's there. What's there is so complicated that you'd find it quite hard to interact with if you had to keep track of all of the detail of how it works. If you want to look deeper into that, have a look at the writings and videos from Donald Hoffman. So the other thing that is important to realize in the process of finding out who you really are, bits of who you are going to start dropping away. It's a bit scary, because the closer you get to realizing who you are, the less bits of who you think you are will be there. It will feel like you're losing your whole self. Rest assured, you are not losing yourself. What you're losing is your idea of who you are. And it will feel like that if you lose your idea of who you are, you lose yourself completely. Of course, it will feel like that. Don't worry about it. Trust who you really are. Do you know all your life you've been headed into the unknown, and you've always thought, oh, you knew what was going to happen next, more or less, But the fact of the matter is, we don't know what's going to happen in the next heart attack. Heart attack, bus crash, all kinds of, anything could happen in the next microsecond. We're always actually going into the unknown, and we always have been going into the unknown, however much we thought we were going into the known. And I mean, when you look back over your life, it's quite obvious, because you thought this was going to happen, something else happened instead. And the other thing we can say with absolute certainty is that everything that you have ever needed, you have always had. You say, yeah, but I wanted this, not the things you wanted, but by definition, you have always had everything that you needed. Somewhere, somehow, something happened and you had what you needed, otherwise you wouldn't be here. Okay? And you can say, but I need love, and all of these things are wants. You don't need love because you're made of it. Yeah. What you need to do is you need to discover who you are, and then you won't have any needs at all, because who you are has no needs. Not for anything. Because who you are knows that grace, that the universe, that the unknown, that God, if you like to think in that way, has always made sure that you had not just all you needed, but exactly what you needed, exactly when you needed it. And the thing is, once you see that this has always been so, you don't need faith or belief or anything. You can just accept anything that was always so, always will be so. You don't have to worry about anything that you need. All you have to deal with is your wants. But before you go chasing after fulfilling your wants, how about you have a look and see where those wants come from? Do they come from who you really are? Or do they maybe come from advertising, keeping up with the Joneses, whatever, there are all these pressures that develop wants in us. Most of the wants that we have come from our fears. The fear of missing out, the fear of being hungry, the fear of this, the fear of that. From all these fears, that's where a lot of our wants come from. But do we have a look to see where they come from? And do we have a look to see whether that fear is actually justified, or it's something that's been instilled into us? Okay. And these kind of questions that I'm asking now, these are the kind of questions that lead again to a deeper recognition and understanding of yourself. And you don't, I'm not suggesting you sit there in meditation and think through things in this way, because when you're sitting down to do meditation practice, the point is not to do anything. Just be there. Keep your attention still. Be aware of the awareness. There's no other thing to do in meditation. Okay? People, there are all kinds of practices, that will help you relax, and that, all this kind of thing, things like body scanning and that kind of thing. They're all very good preparation and help for the practice, but the practice is a non-doing. And whenever you notice yourself doing anything in your meditation practice, when you get to the stage, when you're relaxed, you're sitting comfortably, you're stable, there's nothing you have to deal with. Now there is time just to sit and do nothing. And this is what the heart of meditation is. The heart of meditation is to do nothing at all except allow your awareness to be still, your attention to be still, so that you are sitting there, just that awareness, allowing whatever comes and goes in that awareness. You know, if an itch comes, it doesn't mean you've got to scratch it. If an itch comes, it means it's there in your awareness, and just pay attention. I don't mean move your attention to it, yeah? But you notice that it is there, and you'll notice however it is, and you'll notice that after a time it goes away, whether you scratch it or not. Yeah? If you actually move your attention to it and leave your attention on it, then you can be sure it's going to get itchier and itchier. Yeah. But whatever comes into that awareness, what we're interested in is the very awareness itself. Okay. So hopefully, friends, that will help you all, at least with some of your meditation practice. I hope it gives you a better understanding of what meditation is about. And, again, if anyone's got questions, you can DM me. If you're posting your thought on X and you'd like my input, you can tag me. I welcome that too. Hi, Ramim. So that's probably good. That's just under an hour of speaking, and Umesh, would you like to have a microphone? Because I can certainly offer it to you if you're if you're here present, and if you'd like to speak. No, quite quiet. Okay. Well, anyone who's listened all this way through, thank you very much for listening. I hope it helps. I'm going to finish this in, just under the hour, and that way I might even be able to download recordings and things. Anyway, this is a recorded space, I hope. And yes, and the recording should be available, if you'd like to listen to it again, if you'd like to post it to your friends, that kind of thing. If there's someone that who does meditation, who it might help, please do repost it to them or point them to it or whatever. And I just hope it helps people. I offer you all my deepest blessings, and I thank you very much for your presence and your attention. Namaste.